Rule 21. Expect complexity. From a Workbook for Arguments by Morrow and Weston. Plenty of happy people are not married, of course, and plenty of married people are unhappy. Still, it does not follow that marriage has no effect on happiness on average. It just that happiness and unhappiness, and for that matter being married or unmarried, have many other causes as well. One correlation is not the whole story. The question is, in such cases, is about the relative weight of the different causes. If you or someone else has argued that some E1 causes some E2, it's not necessarily a counterexample if occasionally E1 doesn't produce E2, or if another cause entirely may also sometimes produce E2. The claim is just that E1 often or usually precedes E2, and that other causes less commonly do, or that E1 is among the major contributors to E2, though the full story may involve multiple causes, and there may be other major contributors too. There are people who never smoke cigarettes at all and still get lung cancer, and also people who smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day and never get it. Both effects are medically intriguing and important, but the fact remains that smoking is the prime cause of lung cancer. Many different causes may contribute to an overall effect. Though the cause of global climate change are many and varied, for instance, the fact that some of them are natural, such as changes in the sun's brightness, does not show that human contributions therefore have no effect. Once again, the causal story is complex. Many factors are at work. Indeed, if the sun is also contributing to global warming, there's even more reason to try to decrease our contribution. Causes and effects may loop, too. Filmmakers' independence may lead to their creativity, but then again, creative filmmakers may seek independence from the start, leading to more creativity, and so on. Others may seek both creative and independence because they prefer a less pressured life, or maybe they just have some great idea that they can't sell to a big studio. It's complicated, you see. All right. Exercise set 5.3. Evaluating arguments about causes. The objective of this exercise set is to give you practice evaluating arguments about causes. Tips for success. A good argument about causes should do 2 things. First, a good argument about causes should convince you that there really is a correlation between 2 things, Rule 18. And remember that a correlation is a systematic relationship between those things that are related. Giving a few examples of one thing following for another, for instance, doesn't prove that there's a correlation between the 2 things. There are 2 main ways for an argument to establish a correlation. It might do this by citing sources that establish this correlation. Alternatively, it might give a thorough argument by example or a statistical argument. When a claim about correlation relies on either of these techniques, you need to apply the rules from Chapter 4 or Chapter 2 to decide how well it does at establishing the correlation. Second, a good argument about cause should convince you that the best explanation for a correlation is that one thing causes the other. To decide whether an argument does this, you'll need to brainstorm alternative explanations of the correlation, as you did in exercise set 5.1. Then, use the skills that you developed in exercise set 5.2 to figure out whether you think the best explanation of the correlation really is the one claimed in the argument. If you think there are better explanations for the correlation, then the argument has failed, Rule 19, Rule 20, or both. Rule 21 comes into play in 2 ways. First, some arguments will overstate the strength of their conclusions. If an argument seems to suggest that it has explained the entire cause of some effect, be suspicious that it's ignoring complexity. On the other hand, just because an argument doesn't address the full range of causes for an effect, does not mean that the argument has failed to identify a genuine causal connection. For instance, when public health experts publish a study claiming that eating fast food causes obesity, the fast food industry sometimes reports, "Our products don't cause obesity." Obesity is caused by a combination of genetics, diet, exercise, and other factors. Right? They're right. Diet isn't the only cause of obesity. Still, this retort violates Rule 21 when it moves from the claim that diet isn't the only cause of obesity to the suggestion that eating fast food does not contribute to obesity at all. Don't make the same mistake when you're evaluating arguments. Okay, the instructions for this exercise. Evaluate how well each of the following arguments obeys Rules 18 through 21. Here's the sample. Physical exercise makes people happy. This is shown by a recent review of many different scientific studies that looked at roughly 500,000 people from all walks of life. Across all the studies, people who exercise even a little bit are happier than people who don't exercise at all, and those who exercise more tend to be even happier than those who only exercise a little bit. Yeah, this is a fairly weak argument. While it does a very good job establishing a strong correlation between exercise and happiness, Rule 18, it jumps to conclusions by not considering alternative explanations for the correlation, Rule 19, or showing that the specific causal connection claimed here is the most likely one, Rule 20. For instance, maybe people who don't exercise are unhappy because they're so busy that they don't have time to exercise. Or maybe healthier people both exercise more and feel happier in general. At least this argument doesn't underestimate the complexity of happiness by claiming that exercise is the only thing that causes happiness. And this is Rule 21.